Welcome back. A couple people asked how I did these mini pumpkins when I posted them on Facebook, so I'm going to do a mini tutorial today on how I did it. We're going to use a V-tool and a wood carving knife, and we're going to use a drill motor to drill the top and push in a piece of dowel rod as well for the stem. Starting off here, this is just a 2-inch by 2-inch by 2-inch completely square piece of basswood. The first thing to remember when using this is keep your grain direction going up and down. The top of the pumpkin should be the top of the grain, bottom of the pumpkin should be the bottom of the grain. It'll be a little bit easier on you when carving out these sides. Now to start with, you're just going to make this cylindrical in shape. So start carving off those corners with whichever knife you choose, and I'm going to speed this process up because we're just going to make this a cylinder. And the only thing really to remember here is make your end grain at the top and bottom of the cylinder. I would start by going into the middle of the block and then sweeping up out the top and then flipping around doing the same thing at the bottom. Don't try to start at the bottom and just cut all the way up to the top. That'll be a little bit more difficult. So make it easy on yourself. Once you get to the cylinder shape, you can smooth it out to be as much of a cylinder as you want to, but you don't have to get too focused on making it perfect because it can be a pumpkin, and pumpkins are not always perfectly ovular in shape. They're short and fat, they're wide, they're various shapes, right? So once we get this done, we're going to go ahead and start rounding off the top and the bottom. The only main thing to focus on with this is that it shouldn't be completely circular in shape. You're just rounding off that top corner and then rounding off the bottom corner and then removing all of the saw marks on the top and bottom of this piece of wood with your knife. You want to get all the saw marks off because saw marks do not take paint or stain the same way as a piece of wood that's had your blade touch it. I repeat that in every video because I'm never sure which video is someone's first video to watch, and it's kind of the kind of advice you want everyone to hear, to know, so that when they get their carving done, they paint it, they go, why is this not looking right? Why is it not looking the way it does in the picture? Well, that's probably the reason if you missed that step. In an effort to keep this a short and sweet tutorial, I'm going to speed part of this up because, like I said, we're just rounding off that top edge. Then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to round off that bottom edge. And we're going to slow it down here in a moment because I want to go over that paring cut that I used to get those saw marks off the top. And you're going to see it right here, right? We're going to be pulling that blade towards us, right, like so, to get those chips off. Keeping your right thumb down and out of the way, you can do this cut without risk of injury to yourself. If you're new at carving, you should be wearing a glove or you should be wearing thumb protection, being mindful of where you're pulling that blade, right? I'm using that blade and pulling it in above the thumb, not towards the thumb. So keep that in mind, and this cut gives you a little bit more leverage to get that top end grain off and the bottom end grain off to get those saw marks out of the way. So a little bit easier, but it's something that you should be safety minded about as well. Think about as you're doing. All right, so I'm speeding this section up again because we're just getting rid of the saw marks here, something you guys can all do fairly easily probably. And rounding off that edge as best we can. And this is not going to be completely round carving. It's going to be mostly an oval in shape. And that's what we're going to wind up looking like, kind of like a squarish baseball, right? Around that top edge out a little bit more. But this is not completely round. Now, to this point, I want to point out that you could make this a jack-o'-lantern by putting a face right here if you wanted to. And this is the point you would do that at if you wanted to make this a jack-o'-lantern. You could just draw a face in right here, and then your lines for your pumpkin, you do around the face. So that's an option you can do, but look at that overlay right there. We're going to be putting our lines in to make this look more like a pumpkin all the way around. So we're going to be using, to do that, a 1/4-inch V-tool. And the pattern we're going to do is like a 5-point star. So there's going to be one line here that goes all the way around the carving, one here that goes all the way around the carving, one in the middle of this X, and then one through this portion of the X as well. So it's like a 5-point, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you know, it's a star basically pattern, and it goes all the way around the carving. All right, so we're just going to use a V-tool to do that, and I'm going to use this number 15 file V-tool, starting in the middle and pushing my way up to the top and then across the top. Don't try to go all the way across the top. Be mindful of where your hand is and don't carve into yourself. Remember, sharp blades go into wood and not into people. It's a good rule of thumb anytime you're carving. So start in the middle, come up to the top and in the middle, and then just do it again for each section. And you're going to make these lines go all the way around the pumpkin. Concentric rings. It's 4 rings in total to create this 8-point star actually. And we're going to go ahead and speed it up because you know what you're doing on this. And you don't need to see me do every portion of every step for all the stuff that just keeps repeating. So we might as well just speed this up, get through this, just concentric circles. Start from the middle, curve your way to the top, be mindful of your hands, keep them out of the way. Sharp blades go into wood, not into people. Good stuff to remember. All right, so once you get all those lines in, it should look something like this. At this point where we get our carving knife back out, and we're going to start rounding the edges, left and right side, of each of these lines from top to bottom. We're going to start in the middle, and I'm going to do paring cuts. So I'm going to start in the middle here, and I'm just going to put a 45-degree angle kind of on that all the way around the bottom. Now I'm not going to rotate. I'm just going to do the same thing on the next line. Starting in the middle, 45-degree angle all the way around to the bottom, and then move over to the next one. Now this is that paring cut. Keep that left thumb or the right thumb down out of the way. I'm very practiced this maneuver. It's a good maneuver to get practice at because this is a good way to carve more quickly, more efficiently. It's definitely something good to get some practice in on. Just take your time to do it right so you don't kill yourself. Build up those smart habits, those safe habits where you're keeping your thumb out of the way. And if you do that, you'll save yourself from making a trip to the doctor's office and getting stitches put in. All right, and with this one, we should have one side of the bottom half all complete right there. So, like I said, one side, the bottom half of the pumpkin. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do the same thing, go in the opposite direction, to get the other side of that line, 45-degree angle, all the way up to the top, and that will be the bottom half of the pumpkin done. Now, because this is just going to repeat this pattern for the other half of the pumpkin, we're going to speed up and get through that so we can get to the next step and make this a short tutorial. Once we have all those edges done here for this one half of the pumpkin, that's the last one right there. Now we're going to start doing some V-cuts on all these channels in the top to create that dip that the pumpkin is going to have at the top here. So inside of this channel here, we're just going to come in from the left and then see some depth on there. And then we're going to do the same thing and come in from the right and just deepen that V channel, slightly deeper in the middle and shallower towards the outside of the pumpkin. And we're going to do this all the way around. And it's going to create that effect that you can see in the overlay on the left, where the inside top of the pumpkin kind of goes down and in. This is pretty easy to get. It's ingrained though, so it can be difficult to push your knife into. Make sure you're using a sharp knife and you're being mindful about where your hands are. And it's pretty quick to get this done, and we'll be moving right along with the rest of our carving. I think it's just the last one here, and that's got it. So that was pretty easy. So now we're going to do the same thing we just did on this half of the pumpkin to the other side of the pumpkin, repeating the exact same thing, and then we'll be able to put the stem in, and we'll be done. So just repeating the process here on the bottom. I want to take a moment too to say that if this video is any kind of value to you, if you're enjoying this whatsoever, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That really helps me. The more subscribers I get, the more this video gets pushed to more people. And that's what my goal is. So please give me a hand and do that if you would. Also, if you'd like to, come and check me out on Instagram. You can follow along and see things that I've carved and see things I'm planning on posting videos on. And we'll be able to interact and keep in touch. All right, so we got that done. Both sides are exactly the same now. We've got those rounded out edges, and we got some dips on the top and the bottom for the pumpkin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the view of the video here, and we're going to use a handheld drill and a 5/16 inch dowel rod and a 5/16 inch drill bit. And we're going to drill a hole right in the center of this thing. Now, to start off, I'm going to go in reverse because I don't want it to grasp any of the wood and tear it. So I go reverse for a bit and it kind of pushes it down, and then go forward and we can bite into it without tearing the carving as much. And we're not drilling very deep, just a little bit, just enough to put a little glue on a piece of dowel and push it in there so it stays in place and doesn't come out. And that's it. So you just push that dowel rod in there, and I'm going to use a pair of snips to cut it, but you don't have to use snips to cut. You can use the knife and whittle it down. I'm just trying to make a lot of these pumpkins, for a fall festival that's coming up, and I wanted to show you guys how I did it because a couple folks asked. So once I get that cut off, I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to whittle the top of that to be a little bit flatter, more uniform shape, so that all the pumpkins are similar that I do. And I'm going to make like 30 of these, put them all in a bowl, and take them to that fall festival with me. And you can see looking just like the overlay there, and we're all done. And here are several different sizes that we've gotten completed, painted different colors. Now our little guy there at the front is the 2" by 2" by 2", and the two taller fellows in the back there are 3 inches tall. So you can do these in varying sizes and change it up and have a whole bunch of them. Now the painting process on these were really simple, so I'm not going to show you how, but you can see that there's several layers of paint on this pumpkin. I started with a darker color and then lightly dry brushed lighter colors as I went out. So I started with the left here, and it's a burnt orange from Americana, then jack-o'-lantern orange, lightly dry brushed, and sunset gold, kind of a heavier dry brush to finish off. And that's the way I painted these fellas. Listen, thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. What you should do next is you should watch another video on the channel. So click one of these links here, take a look at one of those videos. Go ahead. I know you want to. See you guys next time. Bye.